Some of you have asked me what color I've used and how I mix them to achieve the result of my final painting. There are 3 main steps that I think beginners should consider. Number 1 is to choose the pigment that suits your painting. Number 2 is limit your palette. Number 3 is learn how to mix color on the paper. Choosing the right pigment for your painting could be overwhelming because there are so many colors to choose from. And as a beginner, we all just want to learn how to paint without worrying about too much information. But I guarantee you that those information will help to improve your painting and also save you some time and money. Underneath Winsor & Newton logo, it says permanent A. That is referred to the paint that is resistant to fading over time when it is exposed to sunlight. At the back, there's a little white square with a diagonal line. I think that means semi-transparent. And if you look at the opera rose, it will say permanent B series 2. I think the permanent rose will fade faster than the Winsor lemon. And the theory is the way they make the pigment, so the higher the number of the series, the more expensive it is. This is indigo. If you look at the back, you see a black square. That means it's an opaque color compared to the pigment that has white square. Cobalt turquoise light, permanent AA series 4. That means it's more resistant to sunlight compared to permanent A. And series 4, that is the way they make the paint, so it's more expensive than the series 1 and 2 or 3. The little square at the back showing half black and half white, I think it means semi-opaque. This is only a small amount of information that I'm sharing. If you'd like to know more, please leave me a comment and I will try my best to make another video based on just information of watercolor paint. So why knowing all those information could help us to improve our painting? Depend on your art style. Some artists prefer transparent color, some prefer opaque, and some prefer granulation. For example, I'm painting this purple pansy. If my color is super granulated, then it wouldn't suit my painting. In this painting, I use 3 pigments: permanent rose, French ultramarine, and Winsor lemon, and they all by Winsor & Newton professional watercolor. Opera rose and Winsor lemon, they are semi-transparent, and French ultramarine is transparent, so I'm sure they will give me vibrant color for my pansy. Even though French ultramarine and opera rose are slightly granulate, but they will be okay for the texture of my pansy. When I first learned how to paint, I used pre-mixed color, pre-mixed green, pre-mixed purple, and pre-mixed orange, etc. But as I grow my experience as an artist, I learned that pre-mixed color could make my painting look disconnected. By limit your palette, you learn how to mix your color. For example, the purple I'm using, I mix French ultramarine and opera rose. I wet my petal with clear water first, and then I drop on Winsor lemon and opera rose and let them blend on the paper instead of on the palette. The tricky part here is how much opera rose should I have on the tip of my brush to receive the orange I'm after. That's a bit hard to explain. It involves some practice. It's all about how to control your water and paint. The reason I enjoy mixing the color on the paper instead of on the palette because I could see the transitions of color. You will see it clearer when I start painting my second pansy. With the second pansy, I want it to look softer than the first one, so I use lots of wet on wet technique. After a small explanation, I believe you understand of how I choose and mix my color. So from here on, I will try to walk you through my painting and explain it to you what color I use and how I mix them. Even though I use wet on dry technique, I still can allow my purple mixture to mix in nicely with the French ultramarine. Here where the petal is folded, I use the three pigments together to create a very light gray to paint it. This is one of the advantages of mixing your own color. You get variety of purple, from cool purple to warm purple, and they all tie together nicely. These petals stay on the top, so it receives the most sunlight and it creates warm purple glow. That's why I have warm purple undertone and then I have another layer with cool purple. This is a wet on damp technique, so I did not wait for the paper to dry completely. I start to apply the second layer when the shine on the paper is gone. I love the warm purple glow, so I try to capture it in my painting. And I also try to recreate the texture of the pansy. With the warm purple, I have opera rose more than French ultramarine, and with the cool purple, I have French ultramarine more than the purple rose in the mixture. I painted this painting early December last year, so the weather is quite hot during the time. It's early summer, so the paper gets dry very quickly, and I have to work quite fast to compete with the drying time. Again, I apply warm purple and then cool purple. After that, I use lifting technique to create the highlight. Here is another example of how I mix my color on the paper. I wet the petal first and then I drop on opera rose. And then after that, I add my mixture of purple and let the colors blend in on the paper instead of on the palette. Wet on wet technique, I start to add another layer of cooler purple. Again, I try to recreate the warm purple glow and the texture of the petal. To be able to create this glow, I don't just need the right color, but I also need the value correctly. That means the dark and light. Leaving a bit of white gaps between each petal helps to define the petals and allow you to paint the petal that next to it without worrying that the color will bleed into each other. Another advantage is it gives thickness to the petal and help to create beautiful detail without you trying hard. So here I have French ultramarine and my purple mixture. I use wet on wet technique and let it blend into each other. If you are a beginner and you'd like to learn more, please check my playlist of watercolor for beginner. I do have some video for beginner for you to practice your art. A little bit of French ultramarine and Windsor lemon, very light mixture glazing on top of the white space. I add a flower bud to complete my composition. Again, I'm working with wet on wet technique using warm purple and cool purple. Some area will look warmer than the other, so I only drop the warm purple in a certain area. With wet on damp technique, I try to paint in the main vein, not trying to copy everything to little detail, but just the main one to suggest the vein of the pansy. You probably could see that some veins are more crisp and clear than the other. That's because my paper start to get dry very quickly, but that also create a nice effect and I like it that way anyway. I painted this flower bud only 2 layers. The first is the base layer and the second I paint in the vein and the shadow area. With wet on dry technique, I apply Windsor lemon first and then I drop on my green mixture. This green mixture is between Windsor lemon and French ultramarine. And then I use charging technique to add some more green to the darker area. This will help to create the effect of the leaf that was been lit under the sunlight. With the stem, I will use wet on dry technique, painting the greens on first and then I use the purple mixture to paint in the shadow area. I always paint the leaf very soft and simple because I want the viewer to pay attention to my flowers instead of the leaf. For the leaves that are in the background, I try to dull the color down by adding the purple mixture into my green. Over here, I use lifting technique to create some vein. For the leaves that in the foreground, I use Windsor lemon and then I add on my greens and let them blend in on the paper instead of on the palette. For most of the leaves in this painting, I didn't even try to create any vein by using negative technique or lifting technique. Instead, I just paint a darker stripes and leave some lighter area to create an illusion of leaf veins. With wet on damp technique, I add another layers to this leaf. When I have my foreground leaf brighter than the background, it's helped to create depth for my painting. With wet on dry technique, I add another layer to the background leaf. If your paper hasn't yet dry, you also can use charging technique. But because I'm in summer, so my paper gets dry very quickly. Giving my pansy one last tidy up, using a dark green by mixing the purple into the mixture and then paint in some leaves that stay behind so that they stay more muted and a bit darker. Thank you so much for staying with me till the end. If you find this video useful, please feel free to share with someone who might be interested. Your like, subscription and kind comment means the world to me.